Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. And most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that on every single episode. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice-a-week long-form podcast, because I want to put the right information out there from the people who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take all that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many, many reasons why I proudly fly that American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. Happy Tuesday, everyone going on. Conrad Lilliness, what is up? Good morning. Flo says good morning out there from Canada. Catherine Whitehouse, good morning, all freight folks. Tracy St. Clair watching over on YouTube. Good morning to you. Jesus Gill, good morning, Freight Coach from J1M Logistics family. Let's get it. Bill McIntyre, good morning. He's watching over on YouTube. Corey Buchan, watching over on LinkedIn. Good morning to you. Yeah, another busy day today, you guys. It is it's been a great couple of days stretch here, right? And we're really starting to roll in Freight Coach Logistics, and we're working out some stuff, and it's progressing, right? And kind of like we were talking about yesterday in building stuff up, and that doesn't come without issues, right? And I want to talk about insurance a little bit. And, just to kind of get into this a little bit, I released a whole episode with my friend Chad over at Reliance Partners. And we talked about insurance, what all the coverages mean and everything. And, I used to do training topics on Tuesdays. And, I want to talk about, the claims process and everything, because recently, last week, we had we had a claim on 2 truckloads. There was just the damage was minimum, right? All things considered, I've had very expensive claims, and this one was nowhere near that. But, when it comes down to the insurance aspect of things, it's crucial to know that your coverage actually covers the commodity that you are hauling. And then especially if, you're getting into some of the specialized stuff, because I move high value freight, right? I have some shipments that are $250,000, some shipments that are $1 million in cargo value and everything. And making sure you have the right coverage is so crucial for your company. And, last week was a prime example of that. Fortunately, we had everything in line. Coverage was there. It was a small enough amount to where we just agreed on a rate reduction with the carrier and the customer to kind of offset that. And that's one thing that, if you're, leading an organization, say you've never dealt with this before, I always look at it like this. Anytime that there's an insurance issue with a shipment, if it's a claim or whatever, my personal opinion, if it's below their deductible amount, most of them, you can work it out where they will pay you, or, in the form of a rate reduction or something along those lines. Talk through those things, because they're not going to want to file a claim for something that's not even covered under their deduct, or if it's, obviously underneath their deductible amount, they're going to have to pay for it out of pocket anyway. So there's no point in getting insurance involved. But in the event that you do, right, like it's so crucial to always get photographs. All right. I'm going to say this. Photographs are everything in those moments. That would be my number one piece of advice. Driver, get photographs. And if you're a broker, request photographs from the driver. Number 2, clearly get the name of the person and the reason why they are rejecting product or, issuing damage or anything like that. Get all of that information. Especially, because a lot of it is obviously if you're delivering to your customer's facility, a little bit of a different story. But That's not always happening. Sometimes you're going to an active job site. There's a bunch of other things out there. I have just found in my career, photographs and the name and the reason clearly stated out there is a great first step, because, there are certain customers that I've had in my career where they can wait 2 or 3 weeks before they even notify you of a claim or any damages. Most of the time, in my experience, they notify you almost immediately. So you really don't have to worry about that. But in the event that you do, looking through that shipper contract is crucial. But anytime that there's damages, you guys get ahead of that stuff right away. And that's why insurance is so crucial if you're going to go out there on your own, right? Like, fortunately with me, like, we're an agent with SPI Logistics. We have insurance, we have everything that you need out there. We can purchase additional riders. We can do all of that through SPI. So that helps us out a lot when it comes to some of the high value shipments that we move out there. But if you're not in that position, if you're out on your own, getting insurance is so crucial, and getting the right coverage. After my conversation with Chad at Reliance Partners, I've always been a stickler about insurance, but I'm an even larger stickler about insurance after that conversation. Just like I think everybody should. And I forget the gentleman's name who commented on my post this morning, but he had said a good piece of advice: either you're going to pay now or you're going to pay later, when it comes down to insurance. And you want to get that up, but mainly you want to have a plan, right? Like, I think that's with everything in business. When you're dealing with this, have a plan in place in the event something goes wrong. I live in reality, you guys, and shit happens all the time. And you need to have a plan in place when something happens, so you can, most importantly, salvage that relationship and bolster. I would even say bolster that relationship with your customers, because most people run in the face of adversity and issues, and they kind of hope a lot of these things work out. Just kick down the front fucking door and come to them and have a list of questions ready to go. Get the information that they need, be in constant communication with the customer and the carrier, and get it resolved as soon as possible. Because that's all it really boils down to, is work with them through that. That's going to get you more freight than anything, in my opinion, is conflict resolution and issue resolution with all of your customers, to ensure that it's taken care of in a timely manner, because nobody wants to have this stuff drag out. And I think the longer you let it drag out, the less and less communicative you are in those moments, it's going to be harder and harder to retain business with anybody long term. So insurance is key, you guys. I'm telling you, as Sydney Thiessen says here, insurance is key. And she also says good morning. But yeah, you guys, look into that episode, you guys. It's the new episode just dropped today. And again, I'm always looking to talk about insurance and in operational, how to solidify people's operations, because I understand the onus that's on sales out there, right? And revenue and everything. But if you don't have an operational plan in place to execute upon all of those promises you make when you're out there selling, and you don't know what to do in those situations, it's going to be really tough, right? And that doesn't say that you're not going to learn the hard way in certain situations. But again, i.e. this show and others that are out there that teach you guys the fundamentals of what to do in this industry, I think are so crucial to get out there and network with people too, you guys. Network with people about the stuff, because you got to protect your organization no matter what. Anthony Tuttle, good morning to you. Micah, good morning. Micah Campo tuning in again. Appreciate that, Micah. All right, you guys, let's get into some articles here today. I will put all the links to the articles out there on the YouTube channel, as well as the Coffee with the Freight Coach audio only replay, which is available almost immediately after this show. But the first article we are going to break down today, you guys, is from fleetowner.com. And then it says, can speed limiters and AEB really make highways safer? Federal regulators want to mandate advanced driving assistance systems such as automatic emergency braking, along with ways to limit or monitor truck speeds to reduce fatal highway crashes. I've broken down a few articles like this in the past. I am personally not a fan of a government mandate on a speed limiter. I kind of thought that's what speed limits were already there for on the freeway, right? So, I mean, making that out there. And frankly, you could make the argument that it's just a ploy for a lot of the larger carriers that have self-governed engines and everything at 65 miles an hour. It's just a ploy by them to lobby out there to level the playing field, so nobody can kind of have a one leg up on it. And I just think that, again, I can see both sides of the argument, but I don't think we need another government mandate on how to fucking live our lives. Anyways, obviously we got to put the intense scenery of a gruesome highway crash that claims 6 lives. Investigators cited a heavy duty truck driver for following too close and creating a fiery chain reaction on I-70 in Ohio. While the National Transportation Safety Board is still looking into the crash, the US DOT wants to mandate emergency braking and speed limiters on trucks like the one involved in that crash, in conjunction with the FMCSA and the NHTSA and DOT, just to keep adding on those 3-letter agencies inside of our taxpayer dollars. The AEB mandate, which is the automatic emergency braking, is for vehicles exceeding 10,000 pounds, while the speed limiter mandate would force vehicles over 26,000 pounds GVWR, its gross vehicle weight, to have a speed limiter that was out there. Many large carriers already have a full complement of automatic driver assist system features, including collision mitigation and AEBs, limiting driver speeds or at least monitoring speeds via telematics. Their anti-regulation stance becomes more difficult to justify when mandate supporters can show imagery. Obviously, we got to put that stuff out there on where there's people who are hit and killed in traffic accidents. All eyes, but I don't want anybody to die, you guys, but the reality is like, it happens. All right. Traffic accidents happen. I also want it, like, cause like, I almost think like, is this going to solve all traffic deaths? Probably not, you guys. It's really not. And furthermore, again, I'm almost confident most newer vehicles have some form of emergency braking system already put in place. I know the truck that I just purchased for my business has that, right? So I would assume that most already have that in there. Anyways, it's, all eyes are on truck crashes. One isolated incident isn't enough to end the debates, but what this tragedy did was add 6 more deaths to the 2023 total road death count. Let me see here, with the former Rhodes Scholar in charge of the American roads, though, going on with the wrong direction. 5,700 large trucks were involved in fatal crashes, which led to 5,700 fatalities, which was an 18% year-over-year increase. This is even with the broader use of disc air brakes and advanced driver systems that was going on out there. Truck crash deaths have continued to rise over the past 10 years, said U.S. Representative Eleanor Holmes of DC, excuse me. And safety was my first priority when we were working on the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Acts, including the mandating of automatic emergency braking, stronger standards for the rear underride guards, and increased funding for safety programs. Let me see here. The NHTSA estimated that automatic emergency braking mandate would prevent more than 19,000 crashes and prevent nearly 9,000 injuries annually. Let me see here. I'm just kind of skipping around because there's a lot of repeats of information. When you look at the performance testing requirements, they're really looking at crash avoidance, meaning that the system is going to avoid all crashes between certain speeds that they've laid out. The reality is that technology is collision mitigation. We can't guarantee that the vehicle is not going to hit the vehicle. The goal is to get the driver back into the game from whatever distraction may be involved out there. Proponents of the mandate argue that even if the ruling saves only a few lives, then the widened reaching regulation would be worth pursuing in the interest of public safety. I'm trying to look through this article here, and so what I would like to see in this, out of all of those traffic deaths that they're talking about the 5,700, I would really like to see how many of them was weather related, how many of them were caused by, say, a blowout on the truck that was non-driver fault, right? So I think like that for conversation pieces, I would really like to see that included in an article like this, because all data is, you can make it sound any way, shape, or form. And again, I want to be clear. I'm not saying I want anybody to die. I'm not saying I want any less safe roadways, but I think if we are going to put articles out there pushing for this stuff, you can't use broad terms, because I would like to see the data compiled to show how, like, was the driver at fault in these instances, or i.e., was that same traffic death counted for when the driver of the SUV crossed over the freeway and hit that Warner truck head on and got killed? Is that still in the same death where it wasn't the driver's fault, but there was a truck involved in it? Again, I'm not saying that there isn't a need for more safety, but I want to see accurate data when we're talking about this stuff, because, I don't think that this is going to save as many lives as what they want, but I think of what it does is it legitimately reduces people's ability to do their job. Speed limiters, because it leaves the industry to navigate a gray area of liability and future prevention, as was the case, and then on November 4th, trucker, let me see here, Chris Lubowski, Lubowski, the big Lubowski, if you ever, sorry, led law enforcement on a high-speed road chase through several Texas counties that lasted over 2.5 hours. During the crash, the tractor trailer nearly collided with several vehicles. While he doesn't represent all truck drivers, speeding was still one of the most frequent drives. So again, like it's over sensationalizing, this here. I think, again, because Owada chimed in and said, forcing trucks to speeds below the flow of traffic increases interactions between vehicles, and I would add more crashes. It'd be like an obstacle course for passenger vehicles on our freeways. This isn't safe for truckers, but especially not safe for passenger vehicles. Again, I'm not a fan of speed limiters. I'm not a fan of it at all. I think that most of the newer trucks out there, and again, if I'm wrong, I'll eat crow, already have an automatic emergency braking system in place that's going on out there. I just don't think that we need any more rules and regulations that are out there, especially when it comes down to speed limiters. I just don't see how this is going to benefit anybody outside of a couple of three-letter agencies from taxes and everything else. Like, because that again, in my situation from this perspective, follow the money. There's like, even in this article, they had mentioned, we can't prove that this is going to actually do anything. So why invest hundreds of millions of dollars, not hundreds of millions of dollars. That's a hypothetical example. Why invest all of this money of our tax dollars into this if they can't prove at this point that it's going to actually save lives? I just think that there's better usage of our time and resources. And again, I want to be abundantly clear, because I know somebody could listen to this and have somebody, come at it and perceive this from a different angle. That's not my that's not my goal here. I'm just saying that from a government perspective, I do not think that this benefits the industry at all. That article, fleetowner.com, and it is can speed limiters and really make highways safer. Sydney, I would love to hear more about this. She says the ATRI has a lot of great data on this. I would love to see that data. Stephen Thompson, good morning to you, sir. All right, you guys, let's see here. Next article we are going to break down is going to be from FreightWaves, and this is Feds told to start rating unrated trucking companies for safety. Major trucking companies and brokers who book their freight are pressuring the FMCSA to attach a safety rating to carriers operating without such a rating, a situation that exists for over 90% of the freight market. This comes from the FMC, as the FMCSA looks at developing a new way to verify when a motor carrier is fit to operate trucks in interstate commerce. The agency issued a preliminary advance notice of the proposed rulemaking in August to get public feedback. The FMCSA's own statistic red flags of the problem. Of 690,000 interstate freight carriers eligible for a rating, 646,000, roughly 94%, did not have a rating. A system that rates the less than 10% of the eligible population is unacceptable, said Lane Kidd, the managing director of Alliance for Driver Safety and Security. The group consists of 9 of the country's large truckload carriers: Hunt, Knight Swift, and Schneider. These unrated carriers are treated disparately by brokers and shippers who must rely on other metrics to make safety-based business decisions. The TIA, which represents brokers and 3PLs, agrees. The TIA supports a speedy rulemaking because one of the most significant challenges for third-party logistics industry is the manner in which motor carrier safety ratings are currently being used by personal injury lawyers. The misuse of safety ratings, which manifests itself in nuclear verdicts, higher insurance rates, and reputational damage, is especially acute in the light of the fact that 90% of motor carriers currently considered unrated. And then the FMCSA admits to regulatory loopholes. Let me see here. Sorry, guys, I got freight moving. I just had to look at that response there. Let me see here. All right. After analyzing 6 factors which incorporate crash involvement, loopholes in the system, a carrier is not prohibited from operating with a conditional rating, even though a review revealed a safety breakdown. For example, a carrier with a documented noncompliance in vehicle maintenance and controlled substance testing would receive a proposed conditional rating. The FMCSA also admits that the current process strains agency staff, reaching only a small percentage. Because the agency has resources to issue safety ratings to only a small percentage of the carriers, each year a safety rating does not necessarily affect the current safety posture of the motor carrier. So ding, ding, ding. That right there, the FMCSA is it's their problem, right? Like, they're not actually doing it, and they're saying because their budgetary constraints and everything else. So why don't we start there? I think that's a great place to start in this situation. Then it goes on to say, potential solutions lack consensus. Most groups representing carriers, shippers, and brokers and safety advocates agreed that the system was broken. Solutions range from a single unfit category. The current system is confusing and not intuitive. That was going on out there. Also, the meanings of unsatisfactory and conditional may be confused with one another. A 5-point system with 1 assigned to conditional and 5 assigned to unfit out of service may be more understandable. In between the CVSA and Tesla by the TIA to move. All right, for many years, the TIA has been a strong proponent of a red light, green light system for the use of motor carriers. That was going on out there. Not providing a safety rating of subcon for carriers is for every carrier would continue to the confusion that was going on out there. I think that from my perspective, again, like, that's the problem with a lot of the data that comes from the FMCSA. How accurate is it? Because if somebody got a driving violation, say 2 years ago, or like, again, this is a complete hypothetical example, has it been updated in the system? Or with them saying that we only have such a small ability to monitor so many carriers, how many of them are falling between the cracks? And then also on the flip side, you have to look at it from both sides. How many were given an unsatisfactory rating like 16 months ago, but they haven't had any violations since then, right? So I think that, again, this sounds like a FMCSA issue that they need to come to a conclusion here. And then, because again, like, there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the industry right now, rating carriers. I can see both sides of the coin here, but if the FMCSA or the Department of Transportation is not doing their job, and they're not updating their information, and they're leaving some carriers, and then also adversely they're leaving carriers who are constantly committing issues as showing in positive. Like, if they're the governing agency of this, shouldn't they be the one who's taking care of this, like, right now, right? And then they should be like, because that seems like it would be a bigger issue than a lot of them. That to me is a core issue. If you're going to rate carriers based on safety and the 5 metrics that are on out there, and again, this isn't new, you guys, this has been going on forever. They need to start there and make sure that information is updated as opposed to every 6 months or however long that looks. Because again, is that fair to the carrier? No, because I would say that there's probably a large group of carriers that are out there that were rated that a few years ago that probably haven't been updated, right? And then they got to lobby the TIA or not the TIA. They got to lobby the FMCSA to get their shit changed. I don't know. This sounds like an FMCSA problem, and in typical FMCSA fashion, they are kicking the can and pointing it in the other direction and not just looking intrinsically and being like, maybe we should fix this shit. Anyways, freightwaves.com, Fed's told to start rating unrated trucking companies for safety. Third and final article. This one is just, you call it fanboy from my perspective. That's out here, ttnews.com, and it's XPO founder Brad Jacobs readies $1 billion with a B dollar acquisition firm. We were like, back in the day, the brokerage that I was working for, we were like their second acquisition at XPO. And getting an early exposure to how Brad Jacobs operated, the Zoom call, well, it wasn't Zoom back then, but like the video calls that we were on, and having him understand freight and that entire industry, and then do what he did there, and then seeing him do it all over again. Like, as an entrepreneur, I love it. I love seeing this. Again, it's, because he had started United Rentals, which was bought by, and he also had another one that was snapped up by Waste Management. And then he also, started the XPO thing with $150 million purchase of a brokerage in 2011. And then he built that into XPO and 2 recent spinoffs, which together have sales of about $20 billion. With this next venture, we're aiming to more than double that. We all want to create a very large company in the new industry. It'll have scale. It'll be a fragmented market. I love it. I love it. If Brad Jacobs was a stock, I would be investing in that. But in a sense, I kind of am, because I'm looking at this and I'm watching it. And, from my perspective, you guys, as an entrepreneur, when I see this and then knowing Brad Jacobs' story, this gives a guy like me hope, right? This gives a guy like me hope that all of my dreams are going to come true just with hard work and dedication and complete focus on what you're doing. And then, because like my whole thing is if he can do it, I can do it, right? Not from like the venture capitalist angle of it, but if he can build companies up to multiple billions of dollars, I can do it too, right? So it's like, I look at articles like this as that shining light for me in my career and building out my companies and everything, because I'm such a firm believer that, again, if Brad Jacobs can do it, Chris Jolly can do it. There's no doubt in my mind. And I'm really looking forward to this, because it says right here, he made 500 acquisitions in his career, and many were family-owned tool rental businesses for United Rentals. And then at XPO, the deals were fewer and larger. Again, it's just seeing this. I love it. I'm very high on this article, and I can't wait to see how he grows this out. Because again, as somebody who's a student of business and entrepreneurship, I'm just going to sit back and watch and learn, because that's the best part about it, you guys, is because again, no matter what's going on in the macro world, people are still succeeding. And it's just an opportunity for all of us to get ahead. So that article was from ttnews.com, and it was talking about Brad Jacobs' new $1 billion fund that he's going to go out and he's going to double that. So it's going to be interesting to see him do that. And I'm going to pay attention to it. And, as I continue to show up every single day and create content and show you guys how I'm going to be taking my brokerage from 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 100, 100 to a billion to 50 billion in revenue. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to document it all for you guys and talk about it all out here, because that's the best part about this. And yeah, and you're right. And anybody to kind of steal this line from John, for anybody that doubts me, I'll buy your popcorn. Watch it happen. Watch it unfold. But that's going to be it for today, you guys. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow. I got a guest coming on tomorrow. We're going to talk about truck purchasing and kind of what to look for in 2024 out there. So if that's going to be it, as always, if you guys got value, subscribe to the show, you guys. Share it out there to your network. That's how we grow. But most importantly, that's how we help more and more people. And that's due to the fact that if you see value, your network will see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.